So in the gospel today, Jesus is telling us a story about the end of time. And it's filled with a lot of distress, a lot of hardships, unlike the world has ever seen before or will ever see again. And it sounds pretty scary. And you might know that in about the year 70, this prophecy of Jesus was fulfilled for the Jews, because their world that they knew came to a tragic end after a horrible, horrible war with the Romans. So that was then, and this is now. So what does that story have to do with us today? Well, this world that we're living in right now, it's going to come to an end someday too. And it probably will have distress, it probably will have hardships, it probably won't be easy, and it might be downright scary. So in light of that, it gives us a choice of how we're going to live our life. So we can either live in fear of the end and maybe run away and hide and try to ignore everything that's going on, or we can devote all of our resources to prepare ourselves somehow to survive the end, if that's even possible. But another choice we have is to live in light of the good news that was in this gospel. If we live in the light of that good news, we can just go about our daily lives not being afraid of the end. That doesn't mean we don't prepare ourselves to put up with things that might come our way, hardships or whatever, but it's common sense stuff. And basically, we're just not afraid. We don't live in fear. So what is that good news that we heard today that would allow us to live that way? Anybody want to offer up an answer? No? Come on. Jesus is coming. Yeah, he said, when these things happen, they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and great glory. That's good news. We want that to happen. Then he went on to say, when you see these things happening, know that he is near. When endings happen, Jesus is near. Jesus is coming, Jesus is near. That's the good news. That's what lets us live our daily life without being afraid. And you know, in our lifetimes, we go through many endings, right? And I think the ones that hurt the most, though, are relationships that end. Because a good relationship, that gives us a sense of peace, of love, comfort, security, joy. And when those things are threatened to be taken away from us or lost because of a relationship that might come to an end, that really hurts. You know, when we leave somewhere, when we go, relationships can come to an end. That's what made retiring from GM so bittersweet for me. I didn't care about the work or stress anymore. I didn't want that. But there are people there who I know that I have relationships with, friendships with, but at the same time, I know I'm probably never going to see them again. And that kind of hurts. If you're in high school or you're in college, when you graduate, relationships are going to end. There are people there, friends you have, relationships you have, that once you graduate and go wherever God takes you in this great world of ours, you're just not going to see them again. It's not the end of the world, but it does hurt. When people leave us, relationships can end. So how many of you with kids at home right now are ready for the day when they leave? Huh? Nobody is, are they? When they go to college, they go to get a job, they go on their own. You know, when my daughters left to go to college and go to work, the relationship that we had up until that day ended when they left. So they're not at home anymore, right? We don't eat dinner together anymore. And my youngest daughter wrote in a birthday card she sent me last March that one thing she misses about being away, there are no hugs anymore. That hurts. Even our relationship with God for us can seem like it ends sometimes. You know, we go through these phases of our spiritual life where we are just know God. We're in His presence. We can feel His presence. We're there. He's with us. We're with Him. We're just deeply, deeply in love. That's called spiritual consolation. But because we're human, we will experience eventually the opposite of that, which is spiritual desolation, where we feel like God is distant. And you know you're there when in your prayer time, you find yourself saying, God, are you listening? Are you even there anymore? Yeah, even our relationship with God, especially the consoling one, can feel like it ends sometimes. And that really hurts. But with all these endings, we are still presented with a choice of how to live our life. We can live in fear. Fear of the hurt that a broken relationship might cause. And when we live in that fear, we can try to protect ourselves from it. And there's a couple ways we do that. One, we just avoid getting close with anybody. Everything's a distant relationship. Everything is shallow. That way, if anything happens, no big deal, no loss, no hurt. The other thing we do is we try to control all those around us so that they won't leave or that they can't leave. But there's a better way to live, I think. Live in the light of the good news we heard in the gospel today, especially the fact that Jesus is close. Jesus is near us. He is near us. So we don't have to be afraid of growing close to one another because Jesus is near us. And we can depend on Him for our sense of peace and joy and comfort and security. So if anything happens to the relationship, we still have that. We still have Him because He is near us. If somebody leaves us, we don't have to worry about them. Jesus is near us. He's near us. He will take care of them wherever they go. They're going to be okay. Even spiritual desolation, we don't need to be afraid of it. He is near us. Believe that. He is always near us. And I think when we experience desolation, He is closer to us than He is at any other time. It's just that we can't sense it. But He is near us. So this world of ours is going to end someday. And there are a bunch of other things in our lives that are going to end someday. But because of the good news we heard today, Jesus is near us. Jesus is coming. Because of that news, you can leave here, go about living your daily life, and not be afraid. You can go and live without fear. Because of that good news, you are free. What you heard here tonight makes you free. You're free to love one another, and you're free to love God. He is near us. Jesus is coming. And there's even better news. He's already here.